Capital Preservation Services, the tax planning team that helps business owners earn more and keep more.
5, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, I think the slogan for Saints fans in the offseason may be life after Breeze. This is going to be fascinating to see Sean Payton's second act, so to speak. He's been amazing. He's, you could argue, one of the top 2-3 coaches in the NFL and arguably the best offensive mind in the league. And what direction does Who Dat Nation go? The Saints will pick 28th in the NFL draft. We welcome in our friend, Saints Insider, Mike Detillier, at Mike Detillier on Twitter, WWL Radio TV New Orleans. Mike joins us on the Miller Lite guest line. Mike, have you heard anything in the last week or so as far as, especially after what happened over the weekend with Stafford and Goff, have you heard anything else on what direction the Saints may go at QB?
No, I think Sean's going to keep that under wraps. Just my opinion. That guy is not in the room. He is not on the roster. Can you win games with Taysom and Jameis? Yeah. You won games with Taysom last year. You ain't winning squat as far as big-time wins. And I'm talking about it when you get into the playoffs. I did 3 years of WWL with Hank Stram, and he had a saying about quarterbacks. Either you got one or you're looking for one. He says one of the two. He said either you got one or you're looking for one. He said there is no in between. And, at that time, we talking about 90s, his deal was there's probably 8 guys that can get you to the Super Bowl. The rest of the guys, like he said, the others, they good players, and they can help you win games, but can they win you a title? And that's the thing, and still, Sean might be a good coach, but no matter what, you need that guy. There is a reason why the best player in the game in Patrick Mahomes and the greatest quarterback of all time was playing Sunday. There's a reason. Mm-hmm. Listen, Tampa was a middle-of-the-road team a year ago. Middle of the road. Yeah, they had talent, but, they didn't have a trigger guy, and they didn't have a magnet. They didn't have a guy that could go out and sort of become the chief recruiter. And, they go get Brady. Now, when he just made the decision, I think when Belichick made the decision that he didn't want him back, because I really believe that's the actuality of it. That, was Tampa the front runner? Most people would have told you no. Tampa was sort of on the back end as far as that was concerned. I didn't hear anybody say the Bucks were the team initially, and what he became not only the guy, he became the magnet. He pulled in Gronkowski. He was able to convince the front office to go out and get Antonio Brown. When Leonard Fournette got cut, he had other options. He's not signing with Tampa Bay and Brady's not the quarterback there. So, again, he became the magnet to play with Brady. And there's a reason. Those guys are in the spot that they're in. You think about, the two guys that didn't get there, Rodgers and Josh Allen. I think they'll be in that position again somewhere. So you got to have that trigger guy. And I think Hank's right. Either you got one or you're looking for one. And the Saints are still looking.
Oh, this is going to be interesting to see. Life after Breeze for Who Dat Nation. And what a run the last 15 years. All kinds of postseason experiences, the Lombardi Trophy. But you know that this fan base now expects to win. And
They spoiled.
they are.
They spoiled rotten. Because come on, if you're not a certain age, there's a generation of Saints fans that don't remember some of the episodes of what was that quarterback for this team before Drew Brees. The Billy Joe Tollivers of the world, the Heath Schulers. you know, I could go on and on with it, because once Jim Finks decided, him and Abear had gotten to it pretty good, that, he was going to jettison Bob, and then look what happened. It was Forcade, Steve Walsh,
Yeah.
Wade Wilson, Mike Buck,
Ugh.
Jim Everett, kind of go on and on. Jeff Blake, who was decent here. Aaron Brooks had a run. It wasn't bad, and got you to the playoffs. But man, it was one after the other, and then bang, you hit with Drew, and you didn't have to worry about that quarterback position for a long time. And then now you got to worry about it. Because, the other thing Hank would always tell me is, listen, he said, you can get conned into believing something. And I think about that with Sean. How many times he's told some of these national guys, oh, the guy's in the room, my eventual successor to Drew Brees, and that's Taysom Hill. Okay. You can get conned a little bit into believing certain things. And listen, I want Taysom Hill on my football team because I think he's a good football player. Do I want him as my starting quarterback? No. I think he's a great sort of joker-type player in the fact that he can come in and run the RPOs for me, that power running game. He can play on special teams. I could use him as a receiver. But we've seen it in practice. He's hot, he's cold, he's erratic. And with Jameis, no question, extremely talented. He's built for the position. He's got a really strong arm. But it's touch, it's accuracy, and it's also decision-making. And that's where, we've seen it. Okay, here's a great example. Matt Stafford's 32 going on 33. We know of at least 7 to 8 teams that inquired or made an offer for Stafford. And probably another 5 or 6 that called, and when they saw the price, they were, whoa, I'm not going in that direction. Last year when Winston was on the open market, how many teams were after Winston? 2. The Saints and the Steelers, and the Saints signing for a minimal contract.
Wow.
So you might want to believe that, but in a quarterback-starved league, where was the line? Where was the line for Winston? There was none.
How much with their cap issues? But I know that you can manipulate it and shuffle money and cut and so on. But do they have the ability to give Sean Payton some options to go out and get someone, or do you believe that they're kind of going to be pigeonholed, Mike?
I think there's always options out there. And one thing to watch, because maybe the next guy for 2021 is the bridge to the eventual successor. We are finding out more and more that the Carolina Panthers made a huge play for Matt Stafford. And they seem to want to move on from Teddy Bridgewater. What happens if Teddy becomes available? Now, here was a guy who won games here with the Saints, has a good relationship with Sean, and maybe Sean feels he's the best option for 2021. Now, that doesn't mean he's the best option for 2022 and beyond, But, you know, if you're betting, you're probably betting on the fact that, okay, Hill is under contract and you feel Sean has talked up enough about Jameis that you can get him to resign. But one thing I do know with Peyton, he's always got a card that he hasn't played yet. And so I would expect that he would look around to see if there's a veteran that could shake loose from a team.
Jimmy G,
that he would go.
Teddy Bridgewater.
Because you're gonna have to give up capital for Jimmy G.
Okay.
And his contract is pretty healthy. So and I know you can maneuver around a lot of that, but my thing is, a couple years ago when the Patriots wanted just a second-round pick for Garoppolo, why didn't you give up a second-round pick for Jimmy G? Okay, now he's talked up about, I loved Garoppolo when he came out of college. You passed up on him in the second round. Okay, you picked a cornerback in Stanley Jean-Baptiste who barely saw the playing field with the Saints. You passed on him to pick a corner who couldn't play in this league. When you had a chance to trade for him a couple years back, why didn't you give up a second-round pick when he was, he didn't have that huge contract back then? So you haven't passed on him once. You passed on him twice. Now, you can tell the media, that wants to buy into that baloney, oh, man, I loved him. I loved him when he came out. But, okay, why did you pass on him twice?
Yeah, that's a great point. Mike Detillier on the Miller Lite guest line, life after Breeze. We'll see how that shakes out. Mike, let's go to the blockbuster trade. You've been covering the NFL for over 30 years. We don't see this. Number ones for number ones. Stafford to L.A., Goff to Detroit. Your takeaway?
Well, I'm not surprised that there were that many teams interested. I'm surprised at the amount because I thought Stafford, you'd have to give up a first, a third, and probably something else. But I wouldn't have thought it was 2 first-round picks, a third, and Goff. Now, when I look at Goff, to me, that was almost sort of an NBA-type move. Okay, you're getting him off the books. You sort of dealing somebody that really you felt, listen, I don't think he can win here. I'm dealing him off. And does he seem to be a Dan Campbell, I'm going to bite the kneecaps off type player to you? Come on. He's a one-year guy in Detroit, and he's adios from there. So my thing about it is the Rams have kind of taken a little bit of what the Bucks did a year ago and sort of using it their way. That they feel as though we got a lot of good young players on this team. Our defense is really good. We got a running back in Cam Akers that we think can really play well. Got some young receivers. And we're going to all chips in this, and we may have had to give up a lot to do it. But if he can get us to Super Bowl Sunday, it's worth it.
That's right.
And for the Lions, geez, I'm getting up in age, but I've seen enough of these rebuilding situations. All I know is draft capital means nothing unless you hit on draft picks. You can have all the draft picks in the world. If you can't pick right, it doesn't do you any good. And maybe they got the right combination of people there that can make it work. But look where you're going to pick. When people, 2 first-round picks. Oh, my God. Yeah, it's not like the Rams are going to be picking 3rd and 5th. Come on, they're going to be picking in the 20s with those picks. And that may be the earliest they pick. So you basically, in my opinion, kind of gave up 2 early second-round picks and a third and Goff for Stafford.
You just nailed it, Mike. We have a friend who's very close to Les Snead, and he said that Les just doesn't value, the last half. I mean, yes, top 5 where I can get Aaron Donald. Yes, top 10 where maybe, but there starts to be a pretty darn big drop off, and that if you're drafting 23, 24 to 32, he just doesn't value that as much as if you have a big time top 5 pick. And that's exactly where you're going, Mike.
Bo, I've done this draft-wise for over 30 years, and every year it's the same thing. I probably have, now some years a little bit different, but anywhere from 22 to 24, I say surefire, they're first-round pick grade people. And let's just say from 25 to, say, 38, the grades are really similar. And so if you really think you're going to get that pick in the teens, you're kidding yourself. You're going to be getting a late first-round pick, which is really equivalent to an early second. Now, it's still value pick, and you can hit big there. A few years back, the Saints picked the best right tackle in the game, and Ryan Ramczyk with the last pick in round 1.
Yeah.
But you got to pick right, and you got to be smart, and you got to be able to cleverly run across the draft board to maybe do some things to get you the right people. Now, smart and clever are not the 2 words I would use for the Lions. Come on. That's the last 2 words from what they've done over the years. And, I always tease Abear about this. Him and I worked together. That the last championship-winning quarterback in Michigan was Abear. He won it with the Michigan Panthers. Before that, it was Bobby Lane. So, man, listen, it's been a long time. And you just kind of saddled with that. And maybe Dan can get it right. Maybe he can. But, boy, you better hit on those picks. And with the Rams, I think McVay says, you know what, man, I got a good enough team, but Goff's not going to do it. I got to get me a guy that I think in the biggest moments can make those big plays. And people can throw out, oh, well, he hasn't won anything in Detroit. Well, this is many years ago now. That was a quarterback who played and started for the Saints. Never won anything. Didn't win anything in San Francisco either. He led the Redskins to a Super Bowl. His name was Billy Kilmer. I'll never forget Jim Figs telling me that he said, man, listen, when I took over the Vikings in 67, or in late 66, he said I had to make 2 moves. One, he said I had to fire Van Brocklin. He said there wasn't one guy on this team that liked him, and I had to get rid of him. And he said, secondly, I had one major capital piece, and that was Fran Tarkenton.
Yeah.
So he says, I go around. He said, I call the Saints because, the expansion team. I said, would you be willing to give up 2 firsts and 2 seconds for Tarkenton? And he said, they thought about it and said, no, we're not willing to do it. He said, I got a phone call the next day, and they said it's from Wellington Mara with the Giants. He said, what are you looking to do with Fran? He said, I'm looking to maybe deal him. What you going to give up? He said, what are you looking for? I said, 2 firsts, 2 seconds. Wellington Mara said, I'll give them up to you. So he said, we dealt him. We dealt Tarkenton. 2 firsts, 2 seconds. He said, we used that to really build our team, and we were able to really kind of help ourselves through the draft. We drafted well. We were able to rebuild our team. But he said, boy, it left a big void at quarterback. He said, we had Joe Cap, and he said, man, Joe was really good for a while. And then similar to what's happened in the past, with Finks, he had a little squabble about how much he was going to pay Joe, and he had dealt him off to the Patriots. Huge opening. He said, I get a phone call one day, and he said, my secretary tells me it's Wellington Mara. He needs to talk to you right away. So I picked up the phone, and I said, Mr. Mara, what's going on? He said, listen, would you want Fran back? And he said, I said, is he signed? He said, yeah, he's got 3 more years left on that contract because money was big to Finks. I mean, he treated money like you throw manhole covers around. I mean, he was the cheapest guy in the world. But whatever. He said, man, when he told me what we'd have to get him, I brought him back. He said, now with the proper pieces around him, look at the success we had in the 70s with Fran. It was great. He said we didn't win a title. We didn't win a championship, but
No,
we
but
got
they were
there
good
a couple of times.
Yeah.
And he said we were really good with Tarkenton. So he said, for the people that say, oh, well, he was too old and he didn't win anything, he says Tarkenton won a lot of games for us. Gilmore won a lot of games for the Redskins. So, there have been instances with guys that maybe didn't win one place but win somewhere else. And, for the Rams, it is definitely a Tampa Bay Bucks, Tom Brady type move, except they get somebody who's 33 years old, who, and I get it, he's had some injuries, but if you look from 2011 all the way till today, he has started all 16 games in a season all but 1 year, 2019. When he hurt his back, he started 8 in the 8 games he played. Mm. So all this malarkey that he's injury-prone, my thing about it is, okay, you're not playing in the backyard. This ain't two-hand touch. This is the NFL where you get hurt. Play on a team like he's playing on, that he's getting the stew kicked out of him every week. And you know how many 100-yard rushers he's had that he's played with? Games? 11. Since he's been in Detroit. They've had a 100-yard rusher 11 times. Mm. Man, that's nothing in the NFL. So he hasn't had a running game to help him. He did have Megatron for a while, and that was big. But man, put him with McVay on that young team that's got some talent. They're going to be a Super Bowl contender in 2021. Now, it's up to Detroit now to make something happen with those draft picks.
Right.
And, and they got all this silliness here. Oh, the Saints are going to go out and get Dak Prescott. Okay, if they couldn't afford Stafford, how are they going to afford Dak Prescott? Come on, just think about that. But listen, they got people that don't think real cleverly here about how that's going to be done. And so Jerry's going to just give you Dak Prescott. Yeah, right. Jerry knows what he's got, and he's eventually going to sign Dak to a long-term deal. And who knows what happens with Deshaun Watson. But if I'm Houston, I send a thank you card to the Rams.
That's right, because
you just
now
raised the ante up on that big time.
Hey, Mike, 10 seconds. Who wins Sunday night?
I'm going with Kansas City and Mahomes.
Bam. Mike Detillier, at Mike Detillier on Twitter, joined us on the Miller Lite guest line. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Thank you, brother.
Mike Detillier, NFL Insider, presented by RPT and Rick's Pro Truck, #1 Jeep truck accessory stores in Mississippi. 3 locations, I-55 South, Lakeland Drive, Flowood, and their new retail location, Gluckstadt, Madison County. RPT, ricksprotruck.com. Welcome in on a Tuesday. Hour number 3, we're rolling on ESPN 105.9 The Zone, WRKS, out of bounds.